Hey everybody. Writing this speech was way harder than I originally expected it to be. I really wanted to come up here and tell you all how easy and fun it is to become climate optimists, but you know, it's way more complicated than that. And it's so complicated that it got really overwhelming pretty quickly. But you know, that's kind of perfect, because that's really what this entire thing is about. Let's start with climate crisis and why I'm calling it that. Now, a crisis is a time of intense difficulty, struggle, or danger. And the term climate crisis seems pretty dramatic, I know. But you know, climate change just isn't really cutting it anymore. We know that the climate is changing. We know that the ice caps in every polar region are melting. We know that we can't really predict the growth patterns of plants anymore, and we know that there are crazy, weird weather patterns. But I think it is really a crisis, and even though that sounds scary, there's a lot of reasons to be excited about it. And to prove to you that I'm not just going to talk this entire time about how the world is going to end, we're going to start with some good news. In America, 20,000 participants are helping build communities that are running off of sustainable energy and are able to really handle all of the unpredictable weather patterns that are coming our way. Up in the northernmost areas of our planet, solar farms that are able to power over 1,500 Arctic communities are fully operational and have been since September of this year. So I hope that knowing that there are different places around the world that are putting effort into this makes you feel a little bit better about our situation. So when I first heard about what was going on with our planet in grade 9, they called it global warming at the time, and I'm sure some of you can relate to this, but the conversation was purely, everybody's dying! And that did not make anyone feel good or inspired or motivated, and it was pretty hard to hear. And so now the question of, well, Lauren, how did you get involved then? Why did you decide that this was something you wanted to pursue? Why is this exciting to you? And I'm going to answer those questions as we go through the talk, but I wanted to leave you at the beginning with a quote from one of my idols, Princess Leia. Hope is like the sun. If you only believe it when you see it, you'll never make it past the night. And I think that this is really fitting for what we're going through right now. We can't necessarily see the end goal right off the gate, but we're getting there. And every step of the way is worth it. Now, I'm going to talk a bit about why hope, unfortunately, isn't the only thing that is going to help us fix our issues. And we're going to do this by playing a bit of a game, so bear with me here. I want you to, in your head right now, imagine something that you want more than anything else in the world. It can be $1 trillion, it can be a Boston cream donut. It doesn't matter what it is, just picture it in your head. And then hold your hands out like this. Really, I'm watching all of you. Hold your hands out and imagine it, just what you were thinking about, just dropping straight from the ceiling and into your hands. You can close your eyes, just picture it, okay? Notice how dumb you look waiting for a Boston cream donut to fall out of the sky. If you wanted a Boston cream donut, you could have walked the 5 minutes to Tim Hortons to go get it. You know, and even though it might be raining, even though it might be cold, when you get there, it's definitely going to be worth it. And I'm not trying to come up here and tell you all that I'm the master of optimism. You know, my close friends will tell you that there's definitely work that I still need to put in. And so to figure out really what I wanted to talk about and how I can get more optimistic in my own life, I went straight to WikiHow. And this is what they said. The first step was recognizing your emotions. Now, throughout any kind of conflict you're going to encounter in your life, you are choosing between fight, flight, and freeze. When it comes to the climate crisis, those who choose to fight get loud, take action, make statements. And sometimes they can be labeled as aggressive, but you know, that action is more important than the inaction. Those who choose to fly run away from the problem, and that's obviously unhelpful. And those who choose to freeze take it and bury it deep, deep, deep down inside of them. And it often leads to anxiety. And a lot of the time it's because of this thing that I call we call climate anxiety. What was that? What is climate anxiety? I'm so glad you asked. Climate anxiety falls under the category of eco-distress. Now, this term sounds absolutely terrifying, and I get that. But this eco-distress can fall under a ton of different categories, like guilt or shame, or some positive things like connection and empowerment. When it comes to climate anxiety specifically, it's that panicky feeling you get when you realize that you don't actually have a lot of control over what's going on. You know, like you don't get to say, you don't have a say in your well-being or your own personal safety, and that can be really scary and cause a lot of anxiety for some people. And so to help you sort of navigate that in your own life, I'd encourage you to really recognize that when you're educating yourself about our situation globally, a lot of this doomsday narrative in the media is really negative, and it doesn't give you a good, broad sense of what's really going on. Balancing this negative doomsday narrative information with some positive news to understand what we need to do, but also what's being done, is the best way that you can figure out how you can help in your own life. Now, to figure out some of the different motivations for other people that I know in my life, I went to my amazing environmental advocacy class, and I asked them different things that motivate them. And why don't you take a guess at what some of the first things are? Probably stuff like, you know, saving the penguins, saving the turtles, that stuff that you hear all the time. Well, unfortunately, you're wrong. And this seems a little goofy, but we're gonna break it down for you. Probably a little surprising, right? I was certainly a little surprised. Number one is money. What? I know, that's crazy, but not really, actually, when you think about it. In the world that we live in, you need money to do anything. You know, personal incentive is one of the most important ways to get somebody to want to be involved. And as the climate crisis gets more and more intense, the need for people who are educated and knowledgeable and passionate about the climate crisis gets more and more drastic, which means that you get paid a lot more to do these things because you're more needed. And so in the next 5 to 10 years, every career that at least you grade 11s and 12s are looking at right now, there's going to be an opportunity to do whatever you love to do, but also take a sustainability route in that career. And so some of the jobs that already exist right now are jobs like being an environmental consultant, an ecologist, an environmental health officer, and an environmental engineer. And this pay annually is only going to increase consistently over the next 15 years. So not too bad. Number two, which I don't know personally, that is definitely a motivating factor for me, is food. Food is fantastic, it's delicious, it's a necessity, we need it. And it's being seriously affected by the climate crisis. The way that we attain it, the way that we grow it, the way that it's mass-produced or even given and presented to the public, all involve the climate crisis. So for you food lovers out there, things like pizza, chips, burgers, all of them are going to be seriously changed within the next 5 to 10 years, 15 probably more likely. So that's definitely a motivating factor. But the one that I think I connected to the most personally, that a lot of my other activists also said that they were personally connected to, was the social aspect of getting involved. Now, coming together to bond over the end of the world doesn't really seem like a lot of fun. But you know what? It actually is. When you're meeting someone for the first time and you guys have the same favorite movie, same favorite band, you listen to the same songs, that's a serious connection factor. If you're feeling the same way about something as important as the climate crisis, and you're sharing the same values, same virtues, same opinions, that's a serious connecting and a bonding factor to a relationship. It really helps finding people that share the same viewpoint as you. A lot of these connecting factors are things like positive emotions, loyalty, empathy, motivation within yourself and others around you that lead to a generally better life. Think about climate optimism as a puzzle. Every eco-friendly innovation, every eco-friendly action, every thought, every career, every advance into this field is a piece of this puzzle. And I really hope that you're all wanting to be involved in the greater picture. And just remember, green looks good on you. Thank you.